All right, a very good morning to all of you. So, we will be starting with the next unit in political science, and which would be constitutional design because we have already covered what is democracy and why democracy. So, in the next 6 to 7 tutorials, we would be essentially covering this entire unit, right? So, let us start with the first one, where of course I'll be giving you a very general introduction of what this chapter is all about and what are some of the things that we will be discussing as we go forward in the subsequent tutorials. So treat this as an introductory session, and please make sure you're taking down notes for your revision and you're understanding this as thoroughly as possible so that later on you do not have any issues. Right. So let us quickly discuss the main concepts that we will be covering in this particular unit. So the entire chapter deals with the design of the constitution, right? So constitution is going to be the fundamental thing that we are going to be discussing. Everything pertaining to the constitution is what we will be discussing. The why of the constitution, the how of the constitution, the who of the constitution, right? So why do we need a constitution? That's a fundamental question, right? Why does it even exist? How are constitutions drafted? What is the process that we undertook at particularly in our country? What was the role that the constituent assembly had played in the drafting of the constitution? Who designed them, right? The values that are enshrined in the constitution, which guide our politicians, our policy makers to form laws and policies, right? What are the values that are essentially present in them? And once a constitution is accepted, can we make changes to it at a later point of time, right? So all of these big questions, right? These are big questions, these are big ideas, right? These are the big ideas which we will be discussing through two case studies, obviously, because it is political science. So you will definitely be getting a case study. So the first case study would be the democratic constitution in the wonderful nation of South Africa, right? Wherein we'll be seeing the history of South Africa, we will be seeing their struggle against racism, against discrimination, against apartheid, as it is called, and how after their struggle against apartheid, when they eventually became victorious, what was their journey towards the new constitution for South Africa, and under what circumstances did it emerge or was it created, right? And then after the constitution of after the case study of South Africa's constitution, we will discuss the fundamental question as to why we need a constitution, right? कि हमें ज़रूरत क्या है इस document की, what purpose does it serve, what is the grand idea behind its existence. That is something that we will be discussing, right? And then from South Africa we are going to move all the way to India, wherein of course in the Indian context, since we are Indians, it is very important, it is fundamentally important for us to understand how did our constitution come into existence, what was the history, what was the journey, what was the path that was taken towards the constitution, what were the reasons the constitution was adopted, what was the role of the constituent assembly. So it is quite a lot, but it is quite very interesting and quite very dynamic and quite very relevant. So please keep your ears and eyes tuned, and I'm sure you'll be able to understand everything, right? So once we are done with the Indian constitution itself, we come to the philosophy and the guiding values of the Indian constitution, right? So guiding values of the Indian constitution, I would request you to please read your textbook for this, because it essentially comprises of certain dialogues and certain excerpts from the written works of Mahatma Gandhi and his views on the constitution, from B.R. Ambedkar and his views on the constitution, and by Jawaharlal Nehru and his tryst with destiny speech, like the super famous speech he made when India became independent. So these are so it is just to read through, right, and to understand what were the opinions that the leaders, our founding fathers, so to speak, had about the constitution and Indian independence. So kindly do read this once from your textbook. Right, and then of course we will be covering the philosophy of the Indian Constitution, which in essence is the preamble, right? The preamble of the Indian Constitution, which is the first page, the summary, the reflective guide, the soul. It is called by a lot of names, right? We'll be discussing the preamble in a lot of detail, right? And we will be looking at what are some of the key features, key values that are enshrined in the preamble, on the basis of which our constitution is created, right? So with that we will be coming to an end in this chapter. So please make sure you keep your ears and eyes tuned, and we shall now see each other in the next tutorial. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye bye.